Every week over on Instagram, I put up a question box where you guys can ask me any questions that you have about sleep. And there's a few things that come up over and over again. So I thought today I'd answer those questions. So today we're going to talk about how to handle middle of the night wake-ups and the 2-year sleep regression. All right, let's jump in. All right, so today I've got Libby, my little Boston Terrier, with me. So if you hear some little snores or something in the background, that's just her. But I figure it's a sleep show, so like whatever, it's a vibe. So what better way to give you guys what you want to hear than answering your questions directly? So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to answer a couple questions that I hear all the time. If you've got a question that you'd like me to answer in a future show, then just go over to Instagram and send me a direct message. You can find me over there at Awesome Little Sleepers. Okay, so here's the first question. My 5-year-old goes to bed independently, but wakes up 1 to 3 times every night. Okay, the dreaded overnight wake-ups. These suck. Okay, well, first off, great job at bedtime. So the number one reason why most kids wake up overnight is because they get used to falling asleep with mom or dad in the room, and then they wake up overnight because they want to come find mom or dad again. But in this case, you're saying that your child is already falling asleep independently at bedtime without mom or dad. So let's see if we can figure out what might be going on here. So I want you to put your detective hat on and see if you can figure out what reward or benefit your child might be getting from waking up in the middle of the night. Sometimes it's something as simple as just having the parent come tuck them back in. Sometimes it's a hug or a kiss that they're getting in the middle of the night. Sometimes parents let their kids sleep in bed with them occasionally if they wake up in the middle of the night. So the first thing we got to do is figure out what kind of reward or benefit your kid is getting from these wake-ups. Because kids are real creatures of habit, and they can actually get hooked on these middle of the night interactions with you. So what I mean is your child might actually be waking up just because they've gotten used to having you come and tuck them back in. I know it sounds so weird, but it can actually become a habit. So everybody when they sleep goes through deep sleep and light sleep. And now your child could actually be moving into a lighter stage of sleep. And instead of just rolling over and not really waking up all the way, they may move into a lighter stage of sleep and then wake up just to come get you to tuck them back in. And if you're one of those families that sometimes let your kid come and sleep in bed with you, or sometimes you crawl into their bed with them, this can actually encourage your child to keep waking up overnight to try to see oh, is now the time where we're going to sleep together? I see this a lot with families who sometimes say oh, if my kid wakes up after 5 a.m., then they can come, lay in bed with us to get some more sleep. Well, which is fine, but what can happen is your child doesn't know when it's 5 a.m. So what can start to happen is you might see your kid waking up at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. to try to come find you and see oh, is it snuggle time? So what you need to do is look at your behavior as the parent, because that's all you can actually really control anyway. But I think when you look closely, you'll figure out there's probably something that you're doing that's kind of encouraging those wake-ups. Then stop doing it. So if you have to walk your child back to the room in the middle of the night, do that, but maybe don't tuck them in or don't give them that extra kiss. Maybe you make co-sleeping totally off limits and you always take your child back to their room. Maybe you just do something as simple as switching the parent that responds to the child in the middle of the night. Making some of these small changes can help to break that habit cycle and end those middle of the night wake-ups. All right, our next question. Dealing with the 2-year sleep regression, fights sleep and asks for food after bedtime routine. Okay, well, this just sounds like normal toddler creativity to me. It doesn't sound like any type of sleep regression. It's like I always say, the only thing that is certain with kids is change. And that's true for bedtime too. Your child may have loved, sitting in your lap and reading books with you and singing lullabies before bed for the last 2 years. And then one day just be like, no, I don't want to read books anymore. And I don't like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And that's normal. That's normal. It's totally age appropriate. So coming out of their room and asking for snacks after lights out is really no different. At this age, your child is still learning how the world works. Like, what happens if I do this? Or what happens if I say that? How is mom going to react? How's dad going to react? So your reaction as the parent actually goes a long way to help determine how your child chooses to behave. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're on the phone and your child comes up and interrupts you and says, "I'm hungry." Well, you can respond in one of two ways. You could say to them, "Mommy's on the phone right now. I'm going to get you a snack when I'm off the phone in just a few minutes," and then kind of try to ignore them. Let's say you're trying to ignore them, but they're getting more and more creative to try to get your attention, right? Maybe they're using that real whiny voice, "I'm hungry, I'm hungry," or maybe they're pulling on your pants. Maybe they are getting louder. They're starting to yell. They're starting to cry. So finally, you just grab a bag of goldfish and shove it in front of them. Well, what happens is if you give them the goldfish, they've just learned that acting out and tantruming and doing all those behaviors works for them to get what they want. So you can be sure that you're never going to have a phone call again in peace. So it's the same thing when it comes to bedtime stalling. The better the bedtime stalling works for the child, the more of it you're going to see. So if there's one request or one thing that kind of is always derailing the bedtime routine, see if you can plan ahead for that and actually add it into your routine. So in this example where the child is coming out after lights out and asking for food, if you're okay giving a snack in the evening, go ahead and offer that before you go into their room to start the bedtime routine. And let them know that this is the last chance they have to eat before bed. After they have their snack, have them say goodnight to the kitchen. And this can be as elaborate as your child wants it to be. They can blow it kisses, they can wave night-night, they can kiss the counter, and let them say, "Good night, I'll see you in the morning," to really help, symbolize to them that they're not going to have any more food until the morning. So then if your child comes out and asks for a snack after lights out, you can feel confident that they're not hungry because they just had a snack, and then you can stick with your no. If you've got a sleep question you want me to answer, go ahead and send me a direct message over on Instagram. You can find me at Awesome Little Sleepers. If you want even more sleep advice, check out this video.